On the morning of May 2nd, 2013, Lucero Gonzalez received a troubling text message from her sister Maribel's roommate, Kwang Chol KC Joy, a 54-year-old man living in Orange, California. KC expressed his concern about Maribel's whereabouts, as she had not returned home the night before. He had even attempted to file a missing persons report with the Orange County Police, but they instructed him to wait at least 24 hours before doing so. Lucero, however, had a much calmer reaction to the news. At 36 years old, Maribel was an independent adult, and Lucero saw no immediate cause for alarm if she had decided to stay out for the night. Moreover, Lucero had always had an uneasy feeling about KC, so she attributed his overreaction to his own idiosyncrasies rather than genuine concern for Maribel's well-being. Nonetheless, as a dutiful sister, Lucero sent Maribel a text message to check in on her. She wasn't too worried when she didn't receive an immediate response, as they both led busy lives and knew that Maribel would get back to her when she could. Later that day, while out for dinner with a friend, Lucero received another call from someone expressing concern about Maribel's absence. This time, it was the wife of their cousin Frank, with whom Maribel had played in a weekly softball game for years. Frank's wife informed Lucero that Maribel had not shown up for their game that day, which was highly unusual given Maribel's responsible nature. As an Army veteran pursuing a criminal justice degree at Cal State Fullerton while also holding down a job, Maribel was known for her strong work ethic and commitment to her obligations. If she were unable to attend the game, she would have undoubtedly informed Frank beforehand. Realizing that KC's concerns might not have been unfounded after all, several of Maribel's family members, including her cousin Frank and a softball friend named Paul, whom Maribel had been casually dating for a few months, decided to visit Maribel's place to check on her. Paul had received a text from Maribel the night before, confirming that she would see him at the softball game, so her absence was particularly worrisome to him. Upon arriving at Maribel's house, the group noticed that the lights were on inside and her car was parked in its usual spot, suggesting that she might be home. However, repeated knocks on the door went unanswered, even by KC, who was also not responding to phone calls. Concerned, they decided to contact the police to request a welfare check, prompting Lucero to head over to her sister's house to meet the officers when they arrived. The responding officers searched for a way to enter the house, such as a spare key or an open window, but found no means of access. Eventually, they resorted to forcing the door open. Lucero immediately rushed to Maribel's bedroom, dreading what she might find, but was met with an empty room in a state of disarray. The bed was unmade, with sheets pulled off, and while one of Maribel's purses was present, her other purse, phone, wallet, and keys were missing. This scene was particularly alarming given Maribel's military background and typically tidy habits. The only potential clue was a pair of pajama sleeves with small bloodstains on the cuffs, but without any other signs of a struggle or blood elsewhere, it was difficult to determine the significance of this finding. As the search for Maribel continued, a crucial question remained unanswered. Where was KC, the roommate who had been so concerned about Maribel's disappearance that he had attempted to file a missing persons report earlier that day? Strangely, KC was nowhere to be found, and he wasn't answering his phone. The mystery of KC's whereabouts was soon resolved when he called the police dispatcher, revealing that he had been sitting in his car outside the house the entire time, watching as Maribel's friends, family, and the police attempted to gain entry. When questioned about his bizarre behavior, KC claimed that he simply didn't want to go inside while the police were there. During their initial conversation with KC, he told the officers that he had last seen Maribel around 9 p.m. the previous night before leaving for a drive, a pastime that seemed somewhat outdated in the current era. Upon his return an hour later, Maribel was gone, but he hadn't been too worried until the following day when she still hadn't come home. Determined to piece together a timeline of Maribel's last known movements, the police began interviewing those closest to her, starting with Paul, the man she had been casually dating. Paul revealed that although they had been seeing each other for a few months, their relationship was not exclusive, and he had been dating other people during that time. He was unsure if Maribel had been doing the same. Paul's alibi for the night of Maribel's disappearance was solid, as he had been working a shift from 4 p.m. to midnight, which was corroborated by the GPS data from his company truck, placing him nowhere near Maribel's house that evening. However, phone records showed that Paul was the last person Maribel had spoken to before she vanished, and the conversation was far from ordinary. According to Paul, he had been on the phone with Maribel while she was engaged in a heated argument with KC about his overdue rent. Maribel had reached a breaking point and demanded that Casey move out of the apartment the following day. Paul, listening on speakerphone, had even chimed in, threatening to throw Casey's belongings out himself if he didn't comply. Although Paul couldn't make out Casey's mumbled responses, he did ask Maribel if she felt unsafe and needed him to come over, but she assured him that everything was fine and that she was going to bed. This call had taken place around 7:30 p.m. When questioned about the argument, Casey downplayed its significance, claiming that after the dispute, Maribel had simply gone to her room and shut the door, prompting him to leave for his drive. As the investigation progressed, it came to light that Maribel and Casey had been roommates for a couple of years, having met through a Craigslist ad Maribel had posted when Casey was looking to relocate from Knoxville, Tennessee to Orange, California. Initially, Casey had been a quiet and reserved roommate, but over time he and Maribel had developed a friendship, attending family functions and social gatherings together, walking their dogs in the park, and even going on a cruise as friends. However, Lucero had always felt uneasy about Casey's apparent attachment to her sister. In the summer before Maribel's disappearance, Casey had called Lucero, expressing his desire to marry Maribel and start a family with her, despite the fact that Maribel did not reciprocate his romantic feelings. Lucero had encouraged Maribel to set clear boundaries with Casey, warning that their living situation could become unhealthy if he couldn't move past his unrequited affections. Around this time, Casey's behavior and appearance began to change. He got a large tattoo of a Bengal tiger on his arm, supposedly because Maribel had once mentioned that he would look good with a tattoo. He also started dressing differently, as if trying to appear younger. At one point, Lucero noticed that Casey had bandages on his face, and upon questioning him, learned that he had undergone plastic surgery to achieve a more youthful appearance. Casey's financial troubles began when he lost his job, leading to Maribel covering the rent for both of them, an unsustainable arrangement that eventually boiled over into the heated argument Paul had overheard on the phone. However, this was not the first major dispute between the roommates. A little over a week before the phone call with Paul, Maribel and Casey had an altercation so intense that Maribel called 911. In the recording of the call, a distressed and tearful Maribel can be heard telling the operator about the fight, which had been triggered by Casey's failure to pay rent. She had informed him that she wanted him out of the house by the end of the month, and his reaction had left her fearing for her safety. Maribel was so frightened that she told the operator she might need to lock herself in her bedroom and even claimed to have a gun in the apartment for self-defense, although she later admitted to bluffing about the weapon. Police officers were dispatched to the house following the 911 call, but Maribel ultimately decided not to file an official report, instead simply wanting it on record that Casey needed to vacate the premises by the end of the month. As investigators delved deeper into Casey's background, they uncovered a disturbing incident from his past in Tennessee. Prior to moving to California, Casey had been involved in a heated dispute with his sister over their inheritance following the loss of their jobs and the passing of their parents. The argument escalated to the point where Casey left a voicemail on his sister's phone, threatening to shoot her in the head and dismember her body. Although Casey's sister survived the ordeal, she reported the threatening message to the police and filed a restraining order against him, later describing her own brother as a monster when interviewed by detectives working on Maribel's case. Despite the mounting evidence of Casey's violent tendencies and the numerous red flags surrounding Maribel's disappearance, the lack of any concrete evidence of a crime made it difficult for investigators to proceed with an arrest. They could only monitor Casey's behavior in the hopes that he might slip up and provide them with a lead. A breakthrough came when investigators received a tip from the company that rented the car Casey drove. The company informed them that Casey had switched vehicles around the time of Maribel's disappearance. Upon inspecting the previous car with a cadaver dog, the animal alerted to the presence of human remains in the trunk. However, this discovery alone was not enough to make an arrest, as the dog's reaction could have been a false positive or related to something left behind by a previous renter. Undeterred, the police placed Casey under round-the-clock surveillance, noting his frequent visits to the public library, where he would use the free laptop rentals. After obtaining a warrant to monitor his computer activity in real time, investigators observed Casey searching for suspicious queries, such as whether a cell phone needs to be turned on to track its location, and how long it takes for a human body to decompose in the weeks following Maribel's disappearance. The critical breakthrough came when Casey accessed a Facebook page dedicated to finding Maribel, which mentioned an upcoming awareness walk and search effort at a local park called Peters Canyon. Casey then pulled up Google Maps, locating the park and switching to satellite view. He proceeded to zoom in on a large, isolated tree located about 7.5 miles from the planned search area before clearing his browser history. Acting on this lead, investigators immediately dispatched a team to the location Casey had focused on, discovering Maribel's partially decomposed remains buried nearby. Although the advanced state of decomposition prevented them from determining a precise cause of death, they were able to rule out the involvement of any weapons. The official manner of death was listed as homicide by unknown means. Armed with this evidence, the police attempted to bring Casey in for questioning, but he fled upon realizing that Maribel's body had been found, jumping out of a window in an attempt to escape. However, the 24/7 surveillance allowed officers to quickly apprehend him. During the interrogation, Casey maintained his innocence, expressing disbelief at the news of Maribel's death but providing no further information. Casey was officially charged with first-degree murder on May 21, 2013, just days before Maribel was set to graduate with a degree in criminal justice from Cal State Fullerton. The trial, which began in July 2014, saw the prosecution present the various red flags that had initially drawn their attention to Casey, including the 911 call, the heated argument on the night of Maribel's disappearance, and the scratches on his body. However, the crux of their case rested on the digital evidence of Casey's Google Maps search, which had led investigators directly to Maribel's remains. The prosecution argued that the murder was motivated by a combination of financial troubles and Casey's unhealthy infatuation with Maribel. They contended that her intention to kick him out of their shared home had represented the end of any chance for a romantic relationship in Casey's mind, ultimately driving him to kill her. The defense, on the other hand, did not attempt to argue that Casey was uninvolved in the disposal of Maribel's body. Instead, they focused on the circumstantial nature of the evidence, asserting that the prosecution had failed to prove that Casey had actually murdered Maribel, or even that she had been murdered at all. They suggested alternative scenarios, such as an unknown medical condition or suicide, positing that Casey might have simply panicked upon discovering her body and disposed of it despite having no hand in her death. At one point, the defense even proposed the possibility that Casey had killed Maribel in a crime of passion or self-defense, which would constitute manslaughter rather than premeditated homicide. After nearly a week of deliberations, the jury returned a guilty verdict on July 29th, convicting Casey of second-degree murder, indicating that they believed the crime to be more spontaneous than premeditated. Approximately a month later, Casey made the unusual decision to grant an interview to ABC's 7 Eyewitness News against the advice of his legal counsel. In the interview, he maintained his innocence, claiming that he had never searched the area where Maribel's body was found and that he had been framed by the police. In September, Casey received a sentence of 15 years to life in prison. He was also denied a request for a new trial. During the sentencing hearing, Casey continued to profess his innocence and refused to apologize to Maribel's family, insisting that he had nothing to apologize for. He even went as far as to claim that he cared for Maribel more than anyone else in the courtroom, a statement that deeply offended Maribel's grieving sister, Lucero. Speaking to KTLA after the hearing, Lucero expressed her disgust at Casey's audacity, saying, "He killed my sister and then he sits there and says he is the person who misses her the most. It's disgusting." As of 2023, Casey remains incarcerated but will become eligible for parole in 2024. For Maribel's family and friends, no amount of time served will ever feel like true justice for the vibrant, loving woman whose life was cut short by a senseless act of violence. The story of Maribel Ramos is a tragic reminder of how quickly a seemingly innocent relationship can spiral into something sinister and deadly. It underscores the importance of recognizing red flags in interpersonal relationships and the need for a strong support system to help navigate difficult situations. Maribel's legacy lives on through the countless lives she touched as a dedicated student, veteran, and friend. Her infectious laughter, quick wit, and kind heart will forever be remembered by those who knew and loved her. Although her journey was cut short, the impact she made during her 36 years on Earth will continue to inspire and uplift those who carry her memory forward. The case also highlights the critical role that digital evidence can play in modern criminal investigations. Casey's online searches and Google Maps activity proved to be the key pieces of evidence that led investigators to Maribel's remains and ultimately secured his conviction. As technology continues to evolve and become increasingly integrated into our daily lives, law enforcement agencies must stay apace, developing new strategies and tools to effectively utilize digital clues in their pursuit of justice. Maribel's story is a poignant reminder of the devastating toll that domestic violence and unhealthy relationships can take on individuals and families. It emphasizes the necessity of open communication, clear boundaries, and a willingness to seek help when needed. By shining a light on the warning signs and dynamics that can lead to such tragedies, we can work towards creating a safer, more supportive society for all. Though the pain of Maribel's loss will never fully heal, her family and friends can take solace in the knowledge that her story has the power to educate, inspire, and effect change. By sharing her experiences and advocating for victims of domestic violence, they ensure that Maribel's voice continues to be heard, and that her legacy endures as a beacon of hope for those who may be facing similar struggles. As the years pass and the world continues to turn, Maribel Ramos will forever remain a shining example of resilience, courage, and the unbreakable bonds of love. Her story serves as a powerful testament to the strength of the human spirit and the enduring impact that one life can have on countless others. Though her physical presence may be gone, Maribel's memory lives on in the hearts and minds of all those who were fortunate enough to know her. Her laughter still echoes in the corners of their minds. Her smile still brightens their darkest days, and her love still guides them through life's challenges. In the face of such a profound loss, it can be tempting to succumb to despair and allow grief to consume us. But Maribel's legacy reminds us that even in our darkest moments, there is always a flicker of light, a reason to keep pushing forward. By honoring her memory and embodying the values she held dear, kindness, compassion, and an unwavering commitment to justice, we can ensure that her spirit lives on, forever a guiding force in the lives of those she touched. As we reflect on the story of Maribel Ramos, let us remember the lessons her life and tragic death have taught us. Let us strive to cultivate healthy, supportive relationships built on a foundation of mutual respect, trust, and open communication. Let us be vigilant in recognizing the warning signs of unhealthy dynamics and have the courage to speak out and seek help when needed. Let us also remember the crucial role that each of us plays in creating a safer, more compassionate world. By educating ourselves and others about the realities of domestic violence, by supporting survivors and advocating for change, we can work towards a future where stories like Maribel's are a thing of the past. Though the road ahead may be long and the challenges many, we can draw strength from Maribel's resilient spirit and the love she instilled in all those who knew her. We can find comfort in the knowledge that her legacy will endure, a shining light in a world that can often feel overwhelmed by darkness. In the end, perhaps the greatest tribute we can pay to Maribel Ramos is to live our lives as she did, with kindness, generosity, and an unwavering commitment to making the world a better place. By embracing her values and carrying her memory forward, we ensure that her spirit lives on, forever a beacon of hope and inspiration for generations to come. As we mourn the loss of this remarkable woman, let us also celebrate the countless lives she touched and the indelible mark she left on the world. Let us find solace in the memories we shared, the laughter we enjoyed, and the love that will never fade. And let us never forget the name Maribel Ramos, a daughter, a sister, a friend, and a shining example of the very best of humanity. May her story continue to be told, her legacy forever cherished, and her spirit forever a guiding light in the lives of all those who were blessed to know her. In a world that can often feel consumed by darkness and despair, Maribel's life reminds us that there is always hope, always a reason to keep moving forward. By honoring her memory and embodying the values she held dear, we can ensure that her light continues to shine, illuminating the path ahead and guiding us towards a brighter, more compassionate future. Though the pain of her loss may never fully subside, we can find comfort in the knowledge that Maribel's spirit lives on in the hearts and minds of all those who loved her. Her kindness, her laughter, and her unwavering determination to make the world a better place will forever be a source of inspiration and strength for those who carry her memory forward. As we continue to navigate the challenges and triumphs of our own lives, let us draw upon the lessons Maribel taught us, to cherish the moments we have with our loved ones, to stand up for what we believe in, and to never give up hope, even in the face of unimaginable adversity. For in the end, it is not the number of years we live that matter, but the impact we have on the world around us. And by this measure, Maribel Ramos' life was a resounding success, a testament to the power of love, compassion, and the unbreakable human spirit. As we move forward, carrying her legacy with us, let us strive to create a world that would have made Maribel proud, a world of kindness, justice, and unwavering support for one another. Let us honor her memory by living our lives with purpose, passion, and an unwavering commitment to making a difference, no matter how small or large. And let us never forget the name Maribel Ramos, a shining star whose light may have been extinguished too soon, but whose impact will continue to radiate through the lives of all those she touched, now and forever. May her story be a reminder to us all of the fragility of life, the power of love, and the unbreakable bonds of human connection. May we carry her spirit with us always, finding strength in her courage, hope in her resilience, and inspiration in her unwavering determination to leave the world a better place than she found it. And may we honor her legacy by continuing the work she began, building a society of compassion, justice, and understanding, one small act of kindness at a time. For it is in this way that Maribel's spirit will live on, forever a beacon of hope and a testament to the enduring power of the human heart. Rest in peace, Maribel Ramos, beloved daughter, sister, friend, and shining example of all that is good in this world. Your light may have been extinguished too soon, but your legacy will endure, inspiring generations to come and illuminating the path towards a brighter, more compassionate future for us all.